Hello and good morning, my beautiful intuitive butterflies. Good Monday morning, October the 17th, and welcome to this week's video. All right, a couple of last minute adjustments here. All right, so what do we have going on this week? Well, if I'm being really honest, I haven't done a lot of research this week because I was struck with a migraine that started on Thursday night, and it's now Monday morning, and I'm still not feeling quite 100%. I'm feeling quite a bit better, but it was a really rough weekend. So yeah, I think I'm back on my game. We're going to get back into this week. So let's get the ball rolling. For those of you who are new to my channel, let me just explain what happens here. Every Monday I come on and I do a video. I work from 3 separate decks each week. I will present stones, gems, little trinkets, or treasures. So I will present 3 of them. I ask you to go into a light meditative state, and I will then present the 3 stones, trinkets, gems to you, and I ask you to select one of them, whichever one you are drawn to intuitively. And then that card reading is directed specifically towards you. Now, as this is a general reading, there will be aspects of it that will resonate deeply with you and other aspects that may not resonate with you, and that's fine. And as I always remind everyone each week, there are always 1 and sometimes 2 cards from one of the readings that really stand out and kind of resonate with everyone for that week. It's kind of a universal. So although I'm going to put timestamps in the video, I encourage you to listen to all 3 of the readings because you may find value from each of the readings. And each of the readings consists of a dominant energy for the week as well as a shadow energy for the week, something that you might not be seeing, something to kind of give you the heads up to pay attention to that week. So without any further ado, I always start by lighting a candle. And as I light the candle, I call in some energies to help and assist with the reading. So I call in the divine goddess and creator. I call in Mother Earth, angels, ancestors, and animals. I call in the 4 directions, the north, the south, the east, and the west, and I call in the 5 elements, air, water, earth, fire, and spirit, and I give thanks for them helping and assisting and guiding us. Okay. And I've had a couple of people ask me, why do you light sage? I like sage. I also use copal. Sometimes I use incense. My favorite incense is Nag Champa. But the reason that I do that is smell is the sense, the physical sense that we have that's most closely related to our memories. And for me, when I smell sage or Nag Champa, I actually almost immediately go into a semi-meditative state, which is the state where I access my intuition. And by doing this, I am able to give you, my listeners, and my viewers a better reading because I am more in touch with intuition. I'm more in touch with the energies that are unseen in our world. I'm able to contact them better. So that's why I do this. And as per some ancient traditions, it's believed that the smoke of certain sacred plants, including sage, tobacco, sweetgrass, just to name a few, that they have properties that help us to ground. They have properties that help us to heal. And they have properties that help us to become one with more of who we are. So that's why I start all of my readings using the sage and the candles. So I'd like to ask you to go into a light meditative state. That means close your eyes for just a moment and take a deep breath. And exhale your breath. And take another deep breath. And exhale. And one more deep breath. When you're ready, open your eyes. And so this week, the first little gem that I'm going to present is the desert rose. You might recognize the desert rose from last week. I used it last week. So if you are intuitively drawn towards this cute little desert rose, then I will be pulling cards from deck number 1 for you this week. And if you are drawn towards this piece of amethyst, now let's see if I can get the purple to come out in the amethyst in this lighting. I do have the sun shining on me, so it kind of washes everything out, but there is purple in this, and this is a piece of raw amethyst. It's not polished. So if you're drawn towards this piece of amethyst, then I'll be drawing cards from deck number 2 for you. And finally, if you are drawn towards this Flourite point, and this Flourite point has both greens and purples in it, I'm not sure if they're showing up on the camera there, but if you are drawn towards the green and purple Flourite point, then I'll be drawing cards from deck number 3 for you. So take a moment and select your preference. See which one you are drawn towards, and I'll start. All right. So for those of you that were drawn towards the desert rose, and again, it doesn't really want to focus, but it really is a lovely little specimen. All right. So for those of you that were drawn towards the desert rose, I'll be drawing cards for you this week from the Animal Tarot. Let me see. I think this is a Ted Andrews deck. It's a very old deck. In fact, it was one of my first decks that I ever got. So let's talk to the animals and have the animals talk to us this week. Those people that were drawn towards the desert rose, what is their dominant energy this week? What message do they need to hear? Oh, I'm not sure if you saw that, but there's a card that flipped right over. So that will be your card this week. Okay. Your card this week is the Knight of Pentacles in the traditional tarot. And in this deck, it's represented by the cougar, coming into our own power. Okay. So the deeper message from this card is coming from the cougar. And the cougar is an animal that stalks its prey. So in relation to the message on the card, coming into our own power, this is an indication that this week your energy or your message should be drawn towards stalking your prey. So if you are looking for a new job, for example, this is asking you to really get out there and stalk what you want. If you want to work specifically for one company, then get out there and contact them. Make those cold calls. Let them know that you're alive. You know, they're not even going to know that you exist unless you get out there and you let them know. Now, the thing with the cougar is that if you are going to stalk prey, you also must be ready to pounce when the time is right. So your message this week is to really, really pay attention to timing. That's what I'm picking up for you. That in order to come into your own power this week and to really express what you want or what you need to express this week, You need to pay close attention to timing. You need to know what you want. Be really clear. I mean, let's face it, when a cougar stalks its prey, it knows what it wants. It's not going to go out there and waste its time or its energy stalking something that it's really not interested in. So really, really get clear this week. Those of you that selected the Desert Rose, get really clear this week on what it is you want and go out and get it. But the going out and getting it involves stalking. What does stalking involve when it comes to humans? What do we need to do? What we need to do is we need to, in the example I just gave of looking for a job, you need to do your research on the company that you want to work for. Find out who the movers and shakers are, so to speak. Find out who the people are that are going to make the decisions about whether you're going to get hired. Get some information about them. Get some good information about the company. Research some stats so that when you go in and you have that interview, you have the information that you need. Now, by the same token, if you are looking for love, if you are looking for a new partner, okay, this is going to sound kind of creepy, but it's not meant to be creepy. You need to stalk the person that you want to bring into your life. Now, that doesn't mean going out and hanging out in their backyard at 2 o'clock in the morning. Don't do that. But what it does mean is you need to be really clear as to what you want to manifest, the partner that you want to bring into your life. What qualities does that partner have? Because you're not going to be able to attract and draw that into your life unless you know what it is that you want. You need to know, are his physical attributes or her physical attributes more important than them being a nice, kind, and generous person, right? Get really clear in your own mind about what you want. And then ultimately, the universe will have the capacity to be able to begin to manifest that for you and bring that to you. Okay, that's what I mean by stalking. I don't stalk your partner, don't stalk your ex. Please don't do that. But definitely get really clear on what it is that you want. That's your message. And when you do that, the universe really has no choice but to begin to put the Lego blocks in place, the building blocks in place, to begin to put you on the path that is going to bring you what it is that you want, that prey that you're looking for. And I know that comes out really creepy about relationships, and I'm sorry, but I think that the message is clear. Okay, so your shadow energy this week, which will be the card on the bottom of the deck, your shadow energy this week, this is something that is an energy that is active and around you this week, but you might not be paying as close attention to it as you should. All right, so this week you have the 10 of Wands, which is represented in the animal deck by the tortoise, movement through pressures. So your shadow card this week is about ancient knowledge, really. The tortoise is one of the older creatures on Earth. It has survived millennia. And so it has the capacity to move, as much as it is a very slow moving creature across the Earth, it also has the capacity to be able to adapt somewhat to its environment and survive much longer than some of the other creatures that we've had on this planet. So movement through pressures is what is your shadow this week. It's indicating that there may be some pressures that come up this week. And given that it's the tortoise and it's a very ancient creature, it means that some of the pressures that might be presented to you this week could be from your past, things that you haven't dealt with, things that perhaps you haven't paid attention to. And so you're being called upon this week to get really clear on what it is that you want to bring into your life, what it is you want to manifest into your life. But in so doing, in all likelihood, some past stuff is going to come up, some pressures from the past that you haven't dealt with. And, it could feel like slow, heavy energy, because the tortoise is a slow, heavy creature. So the energies could feel like slow, heavy moving energies. And so I encourage you this week to work towards cleansing and clearing that past so that you can have the energy of the cougar come into your life. I want to point out as well that this is one of the slowest creatures on the planet, and this is one of the fastest creatures on the planet. So in your shadow, you've got one of the slowest creatures, which means that there is definitely an energy that has not made itself consciously relevant in your life, if that makes sense. You're not consciously aware of this slow moving, sluggish energy, but absolutely this slow moving, sluggish energy from the past is holding you back from achieving your goals and becoming the cougar that can really go out and get what it wants. It stalks its prey and it gets what it wants. So I'm going to leave that with you this week. That's your message this week. Be aware of slow moving, heavy energies and work towards clearing those out. And as you clear those out, more and more of this fast paced energy of the cougar is going to come into your life. So I'm going to leave that with you. Thank you so much. And let's move over. Just have to move the cards here. All right. So those of you that selected this piece of amethyst, this purple piece of raw amethyst, if you're drawn towards this, I'll be pulling your cards from the Osho Zen Tarot today. All right. So for the amethyst people this week, what do we have? Okay. There's actually 2 cards there. So I'm not sure if you can see here, but there's actually 2 cards that came out together. So let's see which one we're more drawn to. We may end up turning both of them over and using one of them as a clarifier. Yeah, this one's coming out strong. So, all right, your card this week is Success, the 6 of Fire. Fire is the action card. This is the 6 of Wands in the traditional tarot. And this card represents actually managing to achieve what you set out to achieve. It's your success card. And you can see the celebration that's happening. The character is sitting up on top of the tiger, and they've got the confetti and the ribbon streaming down on them. And tigers are not generally a tame animal. They're not an animal that you would typically be able to ride. So it's normally quite a vicious creature. Again, like the cougar, it's interesting. We have 2 of the 4-leggeds that have come out today, but the tiger isn't an easily conquered animal. And in fact, from my teachings, what I understand is that the tiger is a very shy creature. It's not something that you would normally see out in the wild, unless, of course, you are about to be its prey, but we won't go there. So, yeah, the fact that the character on this card is riding on top of this vicious creature, it's an indication that they have conquered the creature. In other words, they've conquered something vicious from within themselves, most likely from their past, in order to be able to move forward. So this card for you this week is an indication that the work that you've been doing to be able to move forward in your life. You know, a lot of us have felt really, really stuck over the last 2.5 years with everything that's happened. And that has actually been a positive for some people because it pushed them into making changes and shifts that they wanted to make a long time ago, but didn't have the opportunity, didn't have the time, and so on. And the last 2.5 years gave them that opportunity. And for others, it gave them an opportunity to really sit back and look at their life and kind of say, hey, what am I doing? Where am I going? And begin to lay things out, lay out a plan. And part of laying out a plan for your own future involves being able to look at your past with a really critical eye and say, what did I bring forward from my past? What lessons did I bring forward from my past that are no longer serving me? And being able to release those and no longer allow past beliefs to influence us and influence our decisions can be truly, truly motivating and really move us towards a path of success. And so for those of you that selected the Amethyst this week, I really want to say that this card is indicating that all of the work that you've been doing is being rewarded this week. Absolutely, definitely. There's going to be a sign or something's going to come along this week that's going to make you go, yes, I have arrived. All right. So what is the shadow card for you this week? Oh, compromise. Okay. Compromise. So this card indicates that compromise is in your shadow. It's something that perhaps you're not paying attention to. Perhaps you are so focused on success that you have forgotten that part of success is working with others and having the ability to compromise from time to time. Okay, so if you really truly want to achieve this success, then you need to keep in the back of your mind that eventually you will have to compromise. And I'm not talking about compromising your principles or your morals. I'm talking about, let's say, for example, your goal was to get a job earning, I don't know, $100,000 a year. Okay. And you get that phone call this week. Oh my gosh, there we go. Success. I got the phone call. I got the job I want. And then you go in to sign the documents, and the documents say, you're only going to be making $90,000 a year, not 100. But my goal was 100. Compromise. Because the reality is that if you've achieved the success that you wanted, chances are the universe this week is going to throw just a minor curveball at you. And I'm thinking it's going to be minor as well, because in the example that I just gave, for example, that was a lot of examples. In the example that I just gave, okay, if your goal was to achieve $100,000 a year job, and you get in there to sign the papers and they say, oh, it's only going to be 90. And you go, I'm not willing to compromise. That's my shadow, and I'm not willing to compromise. Okay. Look at the tax brackets, though. typically in a lot of countries, that $99,900 is going to be the flip between being in a lower tax bracket and being in a higher tax bracket. So in actual fact, by earning $90,000 instead of $100,000 even, you might actually take home more money. Okay, so there's a positive outcome in this if you can pay attention and if you can compromise this week. Okay, and like I said, I'm not talking about compromising your values, your morals, or anything like that. You know, if you've been trying to manifest the perfect boyfriend or partner, and then something comes up that you just can't come to terms with, don't compromise. Maybe the universe is presenting compromise to you to test you, to test your resolve at actually achieving that success. Okay, so having the compromise card in your shadow position this week doesn't necessarily mean you absolutely need to compromise. It's an indication that a situation with regards to your success may show you where you may need to compromise, or maybe you don't want to compromise. Maybe you don't need to. Just be aware that that situation may arise. And as I always say, forewarned is forearmed. All right, we're just going to move this off to the side. My camera went off. Why did my camera go off? All right, let's just pause. Okay, that was really weird, and I'm not going to edit it out because, as I've said before, I'm real. I don't edit my videos. It is what it is. I've always told my clients, what you see is what you get. All right, for those of you that selected the Flourite Pointe, the green and purple Flourite Pointe, this reading is for you. And I will be selecting a card for you this week from Messages from the Spirits of Nature by Stephen D. Farmer. Okay, so what card do we need? For those that selected the Flourite Pointe this week, what is their guiding energy this week? Wilderness Untamed is your card this week. Okay. So this card, for those of you that selected the Flourite Pointe this week, this card is asking you to be a little bit more untamed this week. What does that look like? Maybe not be so regimented in your ways this week. Maybe not be so scheduled this week. That's what really, really came up strongly for me this week, or when this card turned over, is that for those of you that selected the Flourite Pointe this week, I think that, in the sense that I'm picking up, there has been significant regimen in your life and scheduling, and it might not be serving you, and perhaps a little bit of wild might go a long way. So let's say, for example, you're supposed to wash your hair on Wednesday nights, and so you're not going out. You would never go out on a Wednesday night anyway because you have to work on Thursday morning. But your friends call you up and say, hey, it's so-and-so's birthday party. Come on, you got to come out for a drink. You know what? Go be a little bit wild. Go be a little bit untamed. I'm not encouraging going out and drinking and partying on a weeknight when you have to work the next day and getting all crazy and being hungover and a disaster the next day. I am not encouraging that by any means. But by the same token, you know what? If your friends want to go out for a drink because it's somebody's birthday this week, One drink is probably not going to kill you. And the fact that your hair didn't get washed on Wednesday night, oh well. You know, sometimes we have to throw caution to the wind. Sometimes we have to look at the way that we've regimented ourselves. Sometimes the restrictions that we put upon ourselves really don't serve our highest good. Right now, with what we've just come through in the last 2.5 years, if opportunities present itself, and I really feel that this card is speaking loudly to socialization this week. And a lot of us have lacked socialization for the last 2.5 years. We've led a very restricted, solitary type life. And I really, really feel like this card is asking you to get out there and be more social again this week, if the opportunity presents itself. Also, you know, just because the laundry didn't get done on Sunday, oh, but Sunday's my day to do the laundry. If it doesn't get done, it's not the end of the world. So this week, those of you that had this card, that selected this card, really, really allow yourself to explore the box that you've put yourself in. And if that's not serving your highest good, then let loose a little bit, become a little bit untamed. Like I said, I'm not encouraging you to go hog wild and crazy, not at all. But I am encouraging you to maybe let go of the strings a little bit. The other thing about this card is that given that it's wilderness, and we've got a lot of nature scenes on this card, a mountain, we've got the mountain pines, we've got a rushing river, all of these things on this card are an indication that getting out into nature is going to be really important for you this week. Getting back in touch with more of that how do I say this? That inner wild that we all used to have, getting more in touch with our ancient selves. And go out and hug a tree this week. Go out and do some earthing this week. Take your shoes off and walk barefoot on Mother Earth and see how that feels this week. For those of you in the Northern Hemisphere, I know it's cold, and I know that there's actually a really big cold front moving in that could actually break some records this week. But I want to encourage you to, in some way, shape, or form, get back in touch with the wilderness. I mean, if it's going to be cold enough and it snows, why not throw a snowball? You know, if you're 50, 60 years old and you haven't thrown a snowball at someone for 25 or 30 years, get out there and throw a snowball. Get back in touch with that untamed wilderness that's within you. All right. Your shadow card this week is diversity. Right. This makes perfect sense. Because what I was saying when this card first came up was that you're being encouraged to come outside of your box, to become untamed, to get back in touch with the wilderness. That includes maybe going out for that drink that you haven't gone out for 2.5 years because of what's happened. We won't name it. So this card, I encouraged you to get back in touch with that untamed wilderness. Go out and do it. This card coming up in your shadow is an indication that the boxes that you've kept yourself in for the past 2.5 years, potentially longer, has prevented you from bringing diversity into your life. And we all know that a forest, for example, and this does have the forest on it, a forest, for example, that has one type of tree and one type of tree only is actually far more susceptible to disease. It's far more susceptible to destruction due to wildfire because it doesn't have that diversity. And you know what? We as humans are also susceptible to self-destructive activities when we don't have diversity in our lives. When everything is the same, when everything is routine, when everything is predictable, we as humans have the propensity for becoming really boring. And when we become bored, little things like nigglings at us can come in, depression can come in, anxiety can come in. When we don't have diversity in our lives, this is what's lacking. And when this is lacking, do you know what can happen? We go too far to one side and too far to the other. We go into the extremes. So let go of some of your routines this week. Like I said, if the clothes don't get washed on Sunday, who cares? If your hair doesn't get washed on Wednesday night, oh well. So long as you not doing those things, instead you are bringing some more diversity into your life. And it doesn't always have to be social diversity, but I'm really, really picking up intuitively that we're talking about social diversity for you this week. But you know, it could just be getting out and going camping for a weekend. If you used to love going out and doing camping, and as a result of what happened over the last 2.5 years, you pulled back from that, this is asking you to go out and do what you love again. Okay, so I want to thank you all for being here this week. I want to remind you that at the end of this month, we have a really, really big event coming up. I'm super excited about it because it's happening so close to Day of the Dead, Samhain, Halloween, whatever name you choose to put on it. The veil between the living and those who have crossed over is becoming thinner every day that we get closer to October 31st. And so I want to encourage you this week to sign up, send me an email, and I'll send you the link for the event that's coming up October the 30th. It's going to be at 11 o'clock Central Mexico time, which is going to change the time for those of you north of the Mexican border because Mexico's going off daylight savings onto daylight savings. I can never keep track of it, but Mexico changes their time. And so that will be 1 p.m. on October the 30th for those of you in the Eastern time zone. I want to encourage you to attend this really exciting event. And here's why. I'm going to be teaching you about mediumship, how to be able to contact spirits who have crossed over. And there is no other time of the year better to learn this skill than right now because the veil is going to be thin. Those who have crossed over can easily come through to us. And if you can master the skill at this time of the year, then going forward, you'll be able to access this skill later on in the year as well. So I'm super excited about it. And I hope that you'll join me for this really, really exciting event to be held on October the 30th. Please email me, Marnie at intuitivebutterfly.com, and I will get back to you. Thank you so much for staying until the end. Bye-bye.